Mr. Squidward, welcome to the night shift.
And a good Saturday evening, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the MI6 Sports Network's late night sports talk show. That, of course, folks, is The Night Shift on episode number 23 on this Saturday night, November 14th, 2020, to recap some college football and talk about the upcoming weekend ahead and, of course, more important program notes as we inch folks ever so closer to 2,000 Anchor podcast app listens. As usual, folks, joined by the usual late night MI6 Sports Network late night owl of the program, and of course a friend of our program, our good buddy Isaiah Leung from the Garage Studios up in Fremont, California. Yours truly, Callan McClurg from the home studios here in San Diego. Isaiah, we see that you're bundled up again because of the weather up in the Bay Area, as usual, with it being fall. Of course, man, good to see you, and of course, welcome to the Night Shift, man. How are we doing tonight?
Callan, I got one thing to say. How about those Oregon Ducks, man? The Ducks were down big in that first half. They were getting outplayed. They were getting out-hustled. They were getting out-muscled in the game as well. But the Ducks, like the true champions they are, they don't panic, and they come back and have a dominant second half. I nearly ripped my head off, but they have a dominant second half and beat Wazoo and go to 2-0 on this young Pac-12 campaign, and look forward to another week in the college football season. It's a great day, man, and I get my pick correct that the Oregon Ducks would beat Wazoo. It's a great, great day. But other than that, I'm doing well. It's getting cold out here in the Bay Area. Winter weather has definitely arrived. It is freezing right now in the Garage Studios. I got the heater on. I'm wearing some long sleeve shirts. I got my famous candy cane hot chocolate from 7-Eleven, which I really recommend you all to get, because this is the boss, man. This is truly really good. But I'm ready to sit back, in this heated garage. I'm ready to talk some sports with you and entertain our audience tonight, Callan.
And of course, folks, as a reminder, the Night Shift coming your way every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday to again give all of our late night viewers a chance to catch up on the big plays, big games, and scores and news of a sports day, all packed into an hour or so long program here, folks, at 10 o'clock every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday night here on the MI6 Sports Network. As folks, we literally sit within 1,000 listens of the 2,000 milestone on the Anchor podcast app. So again, folks, download the Anchor app, or subscribe to us via your podcast app. And again, we're getting 99 listens away right now from the elusive 2,000 listens milestone. With that, Isaiah, we'll get to three of the big college football games we wanted to talk about today. We'll, of course, kick things off, though, in the Pac-12 down in Tucson, Arizona. As once again, Isaiah, it is the USC Trojans again facing the Arizona Wildcats from Tucson today. And once more, it is Kedon Slovis in the clutch, coming up big for USC as they knock off U of A 34-30 from the stadium down there in Tucson. And more so, Isaiah, a game, though, that looked very puzzling as I was watching this game with some very, perhaps, easy field goals that were missed, a lot of, very near chances, defensive lapses. But, of course, the Trojans come down the field, perhaps, though, Isaiah, probably some people maybe doubting, or at least kind of in a way, looking at Arizona thinking, why did you score and leave that much time left on the clock? But overall, though, Isaiah, probably two games, though, that were probably not the best by the Trojans. But, hey, 2 wins is all that matters for USC. Isaiah, your thoughts and takeaways as the Trojans move on to 2-0 and knock off U of A 34-30 on the road in Tucson on Saturday afternoon.
My biggest thought about this game is that, number one, Kedon Slovis should change his first name from Kedon to clutch, because this guy, this kid, is truly the definition of clutch. I mean, the last two games, USC has been down late in the fourth quarter, and he just engineered drives, and he's so calm, he's so poised, and he just stands there and, leads his team down the field to either get a touchdown, like they did against Arizona State, or to get another touchdown to get them to win the game against Arizona today. I was very, very impressed. Keaton Slovis looked very sluggish early on in this game. The passes that he was throwing, they didn't have a lot of zip on it. A lot of people was wondering, is his arm still hurt, because he wasn't really putting a lot of touch, a lot of power into his throws. But on that final drive, he really stepped it up, and boom, 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 5 for 5 right down the field. He leads USC down the field in about 30 seconds. They score the game-winning touchdown, and USC is now 2-0. But I'll tell you this, Callan, USC, they are the most luckiest team in all of college football. I mean, I've probably been the biggest Clay Helton hater out there. I've been wanting this guy gone for the last 3 years. I want Jack Del Rio to take over this program, but this guy still needs to be fired. USC looked like a mess. They look like they should be 0-2 right now. Today's game, it was just so many penalties, so many boneheaded decisions. Like, first, USC had 12 penalties today for 120 yards. That's pathetic. They got to clean that up. And secondly, on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, what the hell are you doing running that play from the shotgun? You're literally standing back 4 yards or 5 yards back. It's basically 3rd and 5, not 3rd and 1, or 4th and 5, not 4th and 1, because you have to take the snap, give it to the running back, and the running back has to charge forward to try to get that first down. Obviously, that's why USC was stuffed. So a lot of the offensive play calling left a lot to be desired, and the penalties that was just really bad for USC. They got to clean a lot of those things up before they head into Salt Lake City or next Saturday to play the Utah Utes, because let me tell y'all, that's gonna be a more tough opponent than the Arizona Wildcats, a team that put up a great fight today against the USC Trojans. This team was supposed to be picked, or they were picked last to win the Pac-12, and they gave USC a fight. So USC better clean those things up, or else they're going to get boat raced next week against Utah.
I thought the game, though, for the Trojans started on a very great note, though, Isaiah, with the early turnover forced by their defense. But at the same time, though, slow starts, though, have been somewhat, in a way, in my mind, the kryptonite for a Trojan football team for the past several years. If any USC fans agree or not, let us know in the chat box. Again, we'll take your live input here, folks, throughout the course of the show, though. But definitely, though, at least in 2 weeks, though, I think we all can agree here, if we've watched the Pac-12 over the first couple weeks of the season, is that USC has had so many issues, though, getting going. And I think, of course, maybe it's an excuse, though, of that 9 a.m. start time against ASU. Last week at the same time, though, the Sun Devils had to go through that same exact thing, though, of playing at 9 a.m. But definitely trying to knock the rust off is one thing. But at the same time, though, you would think, though, that with a team led by a quarterback like Keaton Slovis, who's I would call him a veteran now, kind of getting towards the end of his time at USC. And, obviously I know about Clay Helton. But you would think, though, that they would be able to get off to a better start. And I think, though, that today was probably a step in the right direction. But now it's a matter, though, of a team like USC getting that early turnover, or forcing that early mistake or turnover and cashing it in for touchdowns. I think, more so, yeah, we probably will take points in football, but you can only, I think, rely on field goals so many times in games. And I think when you play better competition, maybe in Oregon later in the season, perhaps for a Pac-12 championship, or, play a bigger, better opponent than, for example, Arizona, or even someone like Arizona State, you've got to take advantage of the mistakes that you do, in fact, get. Again, like that early turnover that they had forced earlier in the ball game. But at the same time, though, I will say, though, that for Arizona and for the Wildcats, who, again, probably are not the best team in the Pac-12 South Division right now, but they definitely, hung around in this game. But I think as well, though, this goes in my mind on USC for more so keeping a team like Arizona in a game like this, where they probably could have throttled them very easily, put them away early. But no, they left that door ajar for a majority of the season, or at least majority of the game, I should say, not the season, but majority of the game, though. And U of A was right there, basically, up until, of course, they scored, though, but left way too much time, though, for Keaton Slovis to win that ball game for the Sons of Troy on Saturday. Some thoughts here real quick. First and foremost, from our good buddy Chris Wilson, watching via the MI6 page. He says, Biff, Oregon and the Pac-12 as a whole aren't as good as they think they are at this rate. Also, Isaiah, some more thoughts here about the Pac-12 or the Pac-12, and also about the Trojans. Also, Chris Winter did say congrats to everybody out there. We're almost to 2,000 listens, getting ever so closer. 99 to go for that milestone. James agrees that his Trojans got lucky today. Angel Berrigan Jr. agrees that USC is one lucky team that could easily be 0-2 so far and be eliminated from the race. Our resident Trojan fan as well, Casey King, says, boy, oh boy, but Trojans barely pulled it out again. And I tell you what, USC has a lot of work to do if they're going to win big games. Can't be having these slow starts. And Chris chimes in, though, at least they aren't Penn State right now, LOL. And also Angel says USC better step things up if they want to go to the Rose Bowl, assuming there's a Rose Bowl. Some more thoughts from Casey. He says that Clay does need to go, and he is killing their chances to being elite, and they need to hire Urban Meyer or Chris Peterson. If they can't get Urban Meyer, they've not had a good coach since Pete Carroll. And also, Isaiah Casey disagrees. No to Jack Del Rio as the next head coach. And also, Angel says, now USC, sorry that they fired Coach Orgeron just because they lost to UCLA. However, though, Casey will agree with you, Isaiah, that they better clean stuff up if they're going to win at Utah, and it's going to be a night game next Saturday in the cold up in Utah. Tough place to play and win, and if it's snowing, you're in some deep, deep trouble. And also, Casey says to Angel, I agree, though, as well, stupid to fire Ed Orgeron and should have gotten the job. Pat Hayden screwed that up big time. I agree, though, as well. With that in mind, though, folks, as mentioned once more, but USC is able to hold off and beat Arizona 34-30. Isaiah, back over to you. What do you got?
By the way, I just want to I just want to throw this out there and make a clarification to the fans. I am not an Oregon fan, even though I'm wearing this duck hat. It's because the reason why I'm wearing this duck hat is because I picked Oregon to beat Wazoo. So I'm just like celebrating that my pick was right. So don't get it confused that I'm an Oregon fan. But I want to touch on Clay Helton. I have nothing against Clay Helton. I think Clay Helton is a solid coach, but he's not a good fit for a highly prestigious program that is USC. Like, he can go and coach UNLV or Hawaii or BYU. I think he would do a great job, but he's not a good fit for a program that, at USC, it's always championships or bust. Like, nobody cares about going 8-5 and going to, those like normal, like the bowl games, like, sorry, Callan, I don't want to, offend the Holiday Bowl, but I'm sorry, but USC shouldn't be going to the Holiday Bowl, or should they be going to the Texas Bowl? They should be competing for championships year in and year out. And so far in the Clay Helton era, that just hasn't been the case at USC.
Definitely, for sure. And again, folks, it is 34-30. The Trojans over the Wildcats today from Tucson, Arizona. Isaiah, Chardol writes in to say that they should hire Jim Harbaugh as the next head coach of USC. I think he agrees with you, though, more than anybody else will.
I think Jim Harbaugh would be a good fit, and he'll be an upgrade over that clown that is Clay Helton. But but I just don't think Jim Harbaugh would do it, because I think he's going to the NFL if he's ever going to leave Michigan. Callan, I think me and you have talked about this on several occasions, that it's like, you're going to voluntarily leave your alma mater, a program that views you as the golden boy, their prodigal son, and then you're going to go to another college. That's just kind of like a slap in the face to Michigan. So I think if Harbaugh does depart, it's not going to be to any other college. It's going to be to the NFL.
It may be a short trip in the NFL in my mind, then back to college maybe after maybe 4 to 5 years. Who knows? But again, folks, USC wins 34-30 over Arizona from Tucson today. With that, Isaiah, another premier Pac-12 matchup today up in Washington that is involving the Oregon Ducks, 11th ranked in the nation, taking on the Washington State Cougars. It was close. Then Oregon turned on the afterburners and blew by Wazoo 43-29. The Ducks over the Cougars tonight up there in a freezing cold spot there up in Washington. You know, Isaiah, this game was very good in my mind, and also, man, a very close game, though. But as we have seen, though, maybe, Isaiah, maybe in college basketball, college football mainly, that a school or a team that probably is playing that ranked opponent can hang around for maybe the first half of the game. But you know pretty well, though, that 9 times out of 10, though, that bigger and better team like an Oregon is going to eventually, overcome the first half rust and knock it off and, of course, run away with that ball game. This game was close, Isaiah. A great game across the board, though, and also as well that Wazoo kept it close. But again, the Ducks, though, overcame a couple of, three, pretty much 3 turnovers in that first half, though, to still win this game pretty handily. Again, 43-29, the Ducks over the Cougars. Isaiah, what stood out in your mind as Oregon wins and, again, improves on their unbeaten record to start off this Pac-12 season?
Well, the theme of this game is that Washington State, like we said yesterday on No BS, the reason why Washington State would lose this game is because they can't stop the run. Oregon State last week ran all over them, and tonight it was the same thing. C.J. Verdell, very, very talented running back. He had 18 carries for 118 yards and a touchdown. He was absolutely gashing Washington State in the second half. Travis Dye, 5 carries, 54 yards, gashing Washington State in the second half, as well as Jalen Redd, 2 carries, 16 yards. He gashed them in the second half, and also Cyrus Habibi Likio, he put the nail in the coffin on Washington State with the game-clinching touchdown at the end there. He had a rushing touchdown. But the theme of this game was just Washington State. They couldn't stop the run. It didn't matter how good their offense was. If your defense can't stop the run, you're going to be in for a very, very long night, especially against these Oregon Ducks, who are a fantastic running team. I like what Nick Rolovich is doing in Washington State. The offense that he's installed there at Washington State, the run and shoot, looks very, very good. I like Jaden Delora, the freshman quarterback from Hawaii. He had a lot of poise. He was very calm. He threw the ball very well in this game. And the defense, they were ferocious in the first half, but Oregon made the adjustments and they started running the ball more instead of relying on Tyler Show, their quarterback, to throw the football. And I think that's what really helped Oregon lift them in the second half to this win.
I definitely agree, and more so, the weather being a factor in the Pac-12, or at least up in the Pac Northwest, again, a lot of the snow and the sleet and ice being on the sidelines. Again, they had a pretty, I'm going to guess, very severe snowstorm before the game kicked off. But more so, Isaiah, like I said, though, is I think 9 times out of 10, when you see a school like, for example, Wazoo playing that bigger, better, badder ball club that is ranked like an Oregon, they can hang for the first half of the game probably 9 times out of 10 and probably still would not beat them. They would probably keep it close, though. But I think everyone knows, though, pretty much in their mind that 99% of the time, though, in these games, that a school like Oregon would eventually run away with the ball game. But I think, though, Isaiah, it looked very disastrous, though, for Oregon in the first half. Though, again, 3 turnovers in pretty much quick succession after they had scored. Wazoo, of course, having their own problems as well. And again, Nick Rolovich and how things have looked with the Cougars in this ball game. But again, folks, it is Oregon winning 43-29 over the Washington Cougars. A couple of thoughts, I should say here, in regards to both of the comments made about both USC and about this game. First and foremost, Christy and Casey both agree no to Jim Harbaugh going to USC. Chris Wilson agrees Harbaugh is trash and he will be fired and won't leave on his own terms. Perhaps. We'll see what, of course, happens. And given his poor track record in Michigan, I don't think he gets another shot at the NFL level, at least at this point right now. Also, Casey King writes in to say that the Oregon game was a good game for a while, but Oregon is too good for Washington State. And right now, Oregon, in his mind, wins the Pac-12 as they are looking like the best team in the Pac-12. Isaiah, do you agree? And we'll let you add on to your point as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Oregon right now looks like the runaway favorite to win the Pac-12. They've looked very good thus far in the first 2 weeks of the season. But the point that I wanted to add was that what killed Washington State was they got 3 turnovers from Oregon, and they only got 1 touchdown out of it. The other 2 turnovers, they got field goals. And against a top team like Oregon that has a prolific offense, their defense is very good as well. You have to get touchdowns in order to win games against top highly ranked programs like Oregon. So that's what killed them. You can't kick field goals against these programs.
And like I said, though, as well, Isaiah, while you were stuck with your technical problems, as well as that, when you get that turnover, you have to get touchdowns. I mean, you can only settle for points so many times in a game where it's going to eventually come back and bite you eventually, and that you have to take advantage of that. And as mentioned, 3 turnovers forced by Wazoo, 1 touchdown out of that entire sequence of turnovers. And again, Oregon wins the ball game pretty handily after a bit of a slow start in the first half, 43-29. The Ducks over the Cougars of Washington State University. So we go from Isaiah getting 1 game right to 1 game going completely down the drain. But before that happens, folks, let's roll back some footage from No BS on Friday.
This is probably going to come back to bite me in the ass, but I'm going to roll with the Wolverines. Damn, tongue twister. I'm going to go with Michigan to win this football game over the Wisconsin Badgers simply because Wisconsin, they had a bunch of players like with COVID. They haven't played in 3 weeks, and then to come back and have to go on the road and play in Ann Arbor against Michigan, I just think that's too tough of a task for the Wisconsin Badgers. I think they're going to be really rusty in this football game. I think their offense will be out of sync early in this football game. I think they're going to get it together towards the end, but I just think it's going to be too late when that Michigan high-powered offense goes to work in that first half against that Wisconsin defense.
Oh, Isaiah. Ye with your faith in Michigan. Once again, buddy, going down the drain as on Wisconsin goes into the big house in Ann Arbor, Michigan, full of nobody in the stands. It is 49-11. The Badgers cold clocking and clobbering Michigan on their home field as Wisconsin turns on the Jets with plenty of turnovers and plenty of offensive scoring. Isaiah, I'll take this segment off to let you vent about your beloved Michigan Wolverines, buddy.
I was going to tell you that I was going to take the segment off to let you rant about your Wisconsin Badgers and how great they were.
I got the win. It's all up to you, buddy. It's all on you.
Where do I start, Callan? First of all, I said last week that that video that I made, Callan, I don't know if we have it in the archives, but that video that I made about.
We do. Let me see if we can go further back into the MI6 archives about your thoughts on Michigan.
Michigan, this is Jim Harbaugh's best team at Michigan. He finally has his quarterback. I know Callan keeps saying death, taxes, and Michigan losing Ohio State. Well, that curse is going to end this year. Michigan is beating Ohio State. They have a great offensive line. They have a great running game. The receivers finally have knowledge of that system. And Joe Milton, my, oh my, was I impressed with this dude. This dude has a cannon of an arm. This guy runs like Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's like Lamar Jackson, but with a cannon of an arm. Like, this guy is going to be great. Ohio State needs to be trembling right now because the Wolverines are on their way to the Big Ten championship.
Are we sure?
I'm officially.
I think the Badgers have something to say about that tonight.
Callan, I think I'm like 0-4 after that video happened. 0-3, something like that.
Or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like after that video was made, after Michigan demolished Minnesota in Minnesota, and I got so hyped up, I was like, oh yeah, Michigan, they finally have their quarterback. They finally have a good offensive line. They finally got good receivers. And all of that I said has gone down the drain as Michigan is now 0-3 ever since that video was made. First of all, I got to say this. I need to apologize to the rest of the Big Ten for saying that, oh, Michigan is so good. The rest of the Big Ten should be trembling. Ohio State should be trembling. Obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about, but Callan, maybe I should keep my mouth shut when it comes to college football, because every time I talk, like I say or I give a prediction or I hype some team up, it always goes down the drain and ends up, backfiring on me. But what I saw in this game was that Michigan players officially quit on Jim Harbaugh tonight. Like, you could see it. There was a play early on in that game. I think it was when Michigan was down 14-0, and that running back just plowed through everybody for a 20-yard rushing touchdown. You could see it. The linebackers, the defensive linemen, the safeties, the corners, they just didn't make any effort to get off their blocks. I mean, they were getting shoved to the ground very easily, and they didn't even were willing to get up to try to tackle the guy. And even when they were getting blocked, they didn't, make an effort to try to move out of the way to try to tackle the damn guy. Michigan players quit on Jim Harbaugh today. This is their third straight loss. They know that their defense is atrocious. They know that their offense is atrocious. They know their quarterback sucks. I don't know where this program goes from here, but this Michigan program right now is the true definition of a dumpster fire. It is absolute rubbish. I mean, look at these stats, guys. Graham Mertz, the quarterback of Wisconsin, Callan's Wisconsin Badgers, only threw the ball 12 times for 12 out of 22 for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. Normally, when you look at those passing stats, you think, oh, yeah, Michigan did a great job shutting down the passing game. But let's dig deeper, guys. Let's look at the rushing stats. Jalen Berger, 15 carries, 87 yards, 1 touchdown. John Chinall, 6 carries, 71 yards. Nakia Watson, 12 carries, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns. Danny Davis III, 7 carries, 65 yards, 1 touchdown. Chamir Dickey, 1 carry, 30 yards. Mason Stokey, 4 carries, 11 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, my God, Michigan was getting gashed all night long. I think they gave up over 200-plus yards rushing. That's why Graham Mertz didn't really have to do anything. If me and Callan suited up for Wisconsin and ran, we could have ran for 50-yard touchdowns. That's how atrocious that was. Michigan run defense is. I don't know what's gone on with Michigan. Their defense has always been their specialty, but this year, for some reason, their defense has been atrocious. They can't rush the passer. They can't stop the run. They can't cover guys. They can't do anything right. And then you look on offense. You look on offense for Michigan. Joe Milton, first 2 possessions of the game, he throws 2 interceptions. He ultimately gets benched in this football game. And then you look at the running game. Zach Charbonnet, their top running back, 3 carries for 21 yards. Joe Milton, 7 carries, 15 yards. The wide receivers, Ronnie Bell, 4 receptions, 56 yards. It was just an atrocious performance all across the board tonight from Michigan. Offense, defense, special teams. The players quit on Jim Harbaugh tonight. And, I think that this should be the last straw for Jim Harbaugh, because it's apparent. The players quit tonight, and he should be fired tomorrow morning.
Are you good?
I'm done, man. I'm done.
In all seriousness, though, I don't know if this is the actual low point until it's inevitable that Michigan loses to Ohio State. And if it happens again, then I really think that there has got to be something done here, because Michigan let Wisconsin, who's been, away for 2 weeks, basically because of COVID, or 3 weeks, they let them come into the big house in Ann Arbor, and they let these guys run them off their home field. I mean, that should be a telltale sign of things to come, I think, folks, with how this Michigan football program has just gone right down the drain in regards to. Now, I know that Isaiah had some, I think, logical reasons, though, with, the Badgers being done or sidelined for a couple weeks because of COVID concerns, though. However, Graham Mertz looked pretty damn good in this ball game for Wisconsin. Now, of course, it's probably inevitable for Wisconsin that they're going to have a great regular season. and ultimately bomb and crash and fall flat on their face in the title game. However, though, for Michigan, they are, of course, the main story here, I think, in everyone's mind. Yeah, the Badgers won the game pretty handily, again, 49-11. But more so, Isaiah, the quarterback play for Michigan did not get any better today. Their defense has become very, very anemic. They're probably going down they're also falling by the wayside. But also, Isaiah, I think I agree, though, that when you are a part of a team, though, that has not had a lot of success recently, but also when you kind of go through that stretch of a season, though, of a losing streak, 3 games, 4 games, that it's kind of magnified, though, in a year, though, cut short by an ongoing global pandemic, though, is guys in a way start to kind of not play their best. They don't give all their effort and stuff like that. There's probably a lot of, emotions on the sideline. Maybe guys are arguing, guys are getting in their faces, and there's probably some fights that maybe break out post-game or stuff like that maybe goes on behind closed doors. But that, not animosity, but just, the pent-up frustration of always going out there and getting rolled and getting blown out of games. And, losing does take a toll on a ball club. I've been there plenty of times in my time playing where sometimes you have to kind of have those closed-door meetings. And I think as well, Isaiah, that there's been reports, though, too, that Jim Harbaugh pretty much in a roundabout way blamed the coaching staff and blamed coaching for their most recent losses. And I think, honestly, this does not sound right. Maybe does not sound right at this time, though. But honestly, though, that might be the only saving grace out of this whole thing, though, is that Harbaugh is kind of in a way saying it's not the players that's losing these games. We as coaches are not doing our job right here and right now. But Isaiah, that is the last thing, though, you want to say when you're at a program like Michigan, who, like USC, does not want to play in the Holiday Bowl, the Las Vegas Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl, the Foster Farms Bowl, the Domino's Pizza Quick Lane Bowl, or some random bowl game in Boca Raton, Florida, or the Bahamas, or over in London. They don't, it's all about playing in the college football playoff. And at the same time, it's all about winning championships. But Isaiah, pretty much, though, man, I think that you're right, though, that this may have been like the straw that broke the camel's back, though, with maybe some player resentment in a way going towards the coaching staff in this loss to Wisconsin tonight at the Big House. But if you want to add on, please do.
Yeah, I want to add on about your Michigan-Ohio State point. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if if Ohio State puts up 75 on them. I mean, with how their defense is right now, Wisconsin, who is not known for a high-scoring offense, they just put up 49 points against this Michigan defense. And then you look at Indiana, they put up a boatload of points on Michigan. And then who's the other team they played? I think it was Penn State, right? Was it Callan? Penn State?
I believe so, yeah.
Penn State put up a whole boat, or not Penn. I don't think it was Penn State, but Michigan State. Michigan State, in all of their games thus far, they've looked very, very pathetic on offense. I think today they got shut out. Last week they only scored 6 points, and they scored 27 points against Michigan. Michigan's defense is so damn pathetic. Me and you and the rest of the MI6 Sports Network, I guarantee you, would put up like 500 yards of total offense on these bums. Like that defense, I don't know what's going on, because Michigan's defense has always been very, very good. That's always been like one of Jim Harbaugh's staples on his ball clubs, is that like the offense might not be good, but the defense ends up being very, very good. He had that with the 49ers. He had that at Stanford. He had that in Michigan. But for some reason, the defense has just been utterly atrocious this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State puts up 75 to 80 points on Michigan.
And honestly, that may sound illogical, like we're playing the game on, freshman mode on NCAA football on our PS2, but that honestly could very well happen at the rate that Michigan is going. Again, this free fall has just not been great for the Wolverines. One quick game update, Isaiah, from the Pac-12. We got a good game brewing here with the Huskies of UW on top of the Oregon State Beavers by 3. 4:30 to go in the third quarter. So, of course, Pac-12 After Dark on this Saturday night. You got to love it.
Yes, sir, man. I hope this game is like remember that Washington State UCLA game, Callan, from a couple of years back that went to
that game was crazy.
Like that was Pac-12. Yeah, that was Pac-12 After Dark. Went like 4 overtimes. I hope this game ends up being just like that.
I know some people and some colleagues of mine who hate the 7:30 p.m. kickoffs, but I think if you're up late, you got to have something to watch, though, if it's this late at night. Also, Chris Wilson, That prediction didn't age very well, laughing out loud in regards to Isaiah, who agrees with Christy Wilson. Busted. Yep, I agree. James Gonzalez writes in, no one should ever mention Michigan as a powerhouse again until Harbaugh is gone. Isaiah, I think you would hopefully agree with that statement.
1,000%.
Casey says, Isaiah, just time to give it up, buddy. Michigan is done. Harbaugh will be toasted once the season is over. Let's hope so. Chris Wilson is already pushing the hashtag Fire Harbaugh movement on social media. So let's get on the hype train with that. Also, some more thoughts here at this rate. Chardol says that he would leave the Wolverines on the side of the street for the dump truck to come pick them up. And honestly, with how bad they've been, that honestly sounds very fair at this rate. Also, James says, Callan, I could go for a nice bowl of Cheez-Its right now as well. I agree. I mean, those sound good. Maybe a bowl of cereal at maybe 11 o'clock at night pretty soon. That may be, in fact, what I go with. And also, Angel says, no asterisk, Indiana, Arfield. We'll talk about them in just a second. And also, James says, that was a 67-63 UCLA victory over Wazoo last season. I fell asleep in the third thinking it was over. You can never fall asleep, though, during Pac-12 After Dark. Cannot do that at this rate. And also, Chris says, going to keep the hashtag Fire Harbaugh hard tomorrow going on his Final Score program, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I hope I will open up I will literally at this rate open up a TweetDeck column of the hashtag Fire Harbaugh and see what comes in. I might share some responses on the night shift on Sunday night. And also, by the way, don't forget, guys, we also get to see UCLA play my Cal Golden Bears at tomorrow morning on NFL Sunday because, again, folks, as we had talked about, though, on Friday, with 15 games being canceled over the NCAA football season yesterday, with both UCLA and Cal losing their games, they both decided to play each other at the Rose Bowl on Sunday. And also, Tyler Work says 7:30 p.m. College football kickoffs are great. 9 p.m. or 10 o'clock kickoffs for games played in Hawaii are even better. We both approve of that. Isaiah, back over to you.
I was just going to say, Callan, about the Pac-12 for breakfast game tomorrow between UCLA and Cal. I was going to say, hey, I might just tune into that game instead of watching my 49ers because I know they're going to get absolutely drubbed against the New Orleans Saints with Nick Mullins at the helm. So instead of watching that, ass whooping, I might just tune in and watch Cal and UCLA play.
But yet you told all the viewers on No BS to put all their money on the Niners to beat the Saints tomorrow. What gives?
Well, I mean, I got to be realistic, man. I'm hoping that the Niners win, but that's my heart saying like having pulled that, that the Niners will win. But in my head, I'm like, yeah, the Niners have no chance. So I don't know. I'm having a battle between my head and my heart.
Don't worry, it happens. That's exactly me come Monday with the Bears hopefully beating the Vikings, but I picked the Vikings in our group, pick them to win the game because of their injury problems. But, I've got my lucky helmet, though, just in case they can win this game on Monday. I doubt it, but let's hope so that they can knock off the rival Vikings on Monday. We'll see how things go. But again, folks, Wisconsin obliterating Michigan 49-11 from the Big House in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Here tonight, some more thoughts about the Cal UCLA game happening on Sunday again due to both teams again having their games canceled due to COVID concerns with both. I believe Isaiah, who was UCLA supposed to play again today?
I believe they were supposed to play Utah
because and Cal was supposed to play Arizona State today, but Herman Edwards and the boys sadly came down with COVID test. Some more thoughts here. Casey King says, go Cal versus UCLA in the Battle of the Bears. The Golden Bears and the Bruins tomorrow. So I guarantee a Bear will win the game on Sunday. Put all your money on a Bear to win the game on Sunday morning between Cal and UCLA. Angel writes in to say, I'm watching wrestling only, missing our leftover pizza. I agree with that. Chris writes in to say, I love having continuous college football. It's almost 2 a.m. here where I live. In Florida, but still watching Oregon State playing UW. Gotta love those late West Coast kickoffs. Definitely, for sure. Christy says, I'm just glad that the Cowboys are on their bye week, so I might have to watch UCLA and Cal. Definitely agree. I mean, I think it's nice though, Isaiah, to kind of have that college game though. Like, I think this like maybe the first time I can recall a college game being played on a Sunday in the middle of an NFL week of the season.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this might be like the only time I
At
can
least it feels
recall
like
about.
it. At least it feels like it. I'm sure it's happened though, but it feels like it's that way though.
Yeah, I've never like had in my lifetime. I've never like had a college football game on a Sunday that I can recall. I don't remember any.
I mean, I think it's gonna be cool though that we have a NFL game on a Friday, Christmas Day next month between the Vikes and the Saints. Casey King says he'll watch UCLA and Cal in the final round of the Masters. My goodness, Dustin Johnson out here just wiping the course clean in Augusta right now, 16 under. And sadly, though, a lot of guys are tied though, but Dustin Johnson appears to be your front runner favorite right now for the green jacket right now in Augusta. Our buddy Jesus Blackman, what's up, fellas? Of course, Jesus, thank you for tuning in, buddy, and seeing you. And also, Angel says, remind me again. Why is it a good idea that the Big Ten and Pac-12 are playing during a pandemic? Simple as that, right here. Show me the money, basically. Also, Casey King says he'll also be watching his Rams take on the Seahawks in the afternoon game on Fox. And James Gonzalez says the big house is up for foreclosure. Pretty soon it will be. Pretty soon Harbaugh's office will be empty very, very shortly. But Isaiah, what do you got to add on?
Callan, you wanna. I think me, you, Steven, Furman, and Ryan, and the rest of the MI6 Sports Network crew, we should buy the big house. We should chip in money, buy the big house, and turn it into our MI6 Sports Network studio. I mean, that would be so cool to have that big of a stadium as our studio. We could just sit in the middle of the field or sit somewhere in the stands, all spread out, especially during COVID, and then just like talk sports. Perfect.
Well, let's use the press box because we can use each individual radio and TV booth to have our space and do our stuff there. But as much as we are wussies with the weather in California, I'm not going to Michigan in the winter anytime soon, sadly. Some more thoughts here.
Snow angels? You don't want to do snow angels on the field?
We could. I mean, we could. We'll see how things go. Some more thoughts here at this rate. Jesus, loving the chemistry. Of course, Jesus, we thank you very much. Some more thoughts here. The Wolverines are trash. And also, should Jim Harbaugh be fired? My God, my team is trash. 2 thumbs up with Harbaugh being fired in my thoughts. And I think Isaiah agrees.
1,000%. The players quit on him today. It was a disaster.
Christy Wilson says rooting for Dustin Johnson to win the Masters. Again, he's up. He's 16 under par. I could only hope to be 1 under par. I'm 30 over by the time the front 9 is over with because of my golf game being absolutely dreadful. Chris Wilson writes, "I'm gonna watch my Eagles finally get to 500 against the lowly Giants tomorrow. I believe I have them winning too, so I hope that they can at least win." And also, Angel says, yeah, plus the Trumper begged the Big Ten to play the season. And also as well, Casey says, also rooting for DJ as well to win the Masters. And James says in his best, also he's going to, James says his best Rob Schneider impersonation, "You can do it." Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how things go. I mean, then again, I do work though at a professional hockey arena 34 days out of the year, though, and I'm kind of used to that cold, but not snow falling from the sky. And also, Chris says, got to hit the hay, though, but absolutely love the show, guys. We should definitely collab sometime. We'll work on that. I have a couple of other people inquiring about that. We'll see what we can do, Chris, and have a good rest of your Saturday night. Isaiah, back over to you. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I was just going to say, first of all, Callan, you talk about your golf game being dreadful. First of all, I think I guarantee you I would just take one swing and then pull a muscle in my back and I'll be out for the year. And secondly, I'm rooting for Tiger Woods. You know, unfortunately, Tiger hasn't played his best golf so far in the Masters, but who knows? Maybe, I don't know how many shots he's back, but maybe he can make a comeback on Sunday wearing his lucky red shirt that he always wears on Sundays.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But, you know, Dustin Johnson right now in front of the race right now to win the Masters. But again, we'll see how things go. Angel says, make the PGA like the movie Happy Gilmore, and I will watch it. Does that have to include the heckler saying that you suck, you blank blank? Probably the greatest line in that entire movie.
That's what's going to happen when those fans watch me play golf, because I probably just try to take a wild swing and the ball only goes like 4 yards.
Whoa, the club went further than the ball. Maybe the MI6 team, Isaiah, has a better chance of making it big in mini golf, not actual golf
Yeah,
golf at
yeah,
this rate.
yeah.
But again, folks, the Badgers of Wisconsin all over Michigan, 49-11. The Badgers win from the Big House up in Ann Arbor on this Saturday night. Isaiah, Casey, though, did want to bring up about the Indiana Hoosiers, though, man. They're 4-0 now after their win today over Michigan State. And a big game for the Hoosiers next week versus the Ohio State University. Probably won't be Ohio State, but hope that they give them a battle and pull off the upset. But I'm looking forward to watching that game next weekend. And nice to see somebody new do well like the Indiana Hoosiers in football. You know, Isaiah, we talk so much, though, buddy, about parity in college sports, though, because for a long time, though, recently more so, mainly me as a big women's basketball supporter, fan, and broadcaster, I've had to live with the notion of internet trolls who say, Gino Ariema's team and UConn, they're bad for the game because they always are winning the national championship. Well, Isaiah, there's actually been a very nice little change in women's college basketball where UConn has not won the championship in about, I'd say, 4 to 5 years, though. But you've had South Carolina come up and become a great program, and Notre Dame, Baylor, Oregon with Sabrina Ionescu last season, and that more and more women's teams are becoming competitive, and more of the five-star recruits now aren't going to UConn like it was in the past. Now they're going to Stanford and Washington. They've gone to Baylor. They've gone to other programs. And also, Isaiah, that Casey brings up a great point, though, that for the longest time, though, there are certain schools, Isaiah, like, for example, the Kansas Jayhawks or even Indiana, schools that are known for a certain sport. It's either football or basketball. And usually, Isaiah, typically it's not both programs being good at one given time. You probably have, sometimes where the football team's really good and the basketball team is bad, or vice versa. But Isaiah, I think, though, that Casey's right, though. A good, little change of pace, though, to see a team like, for example, again, Indiana being very good so far. Would you agree about that notion?
Yeah, I agree with it because I think that the more parity that you have in college football, the better it is for the sport. I mean, I think that's why we all love college football because each and every year you just have like a bunch of teams that just come out of nowhere and end up having a great season. And, there's this epic discussion about, hey, who's going to make the playoffs? Is it going to be like this one-loss team or this team that went undefeated, but they don't have a conference championship? So that's what makes college football great. So the more parity, the better it is for the game of college football.
Definitely agree. And more so, Isaiah, I drew that parallel to Casey's point, though, about changing the guard, though, because Isaiah, like I said, though, as someone who, again, works in women's college basketball and, watches the games and lives and dies with trying to help and do my part as a women's basketball fan to help in a way get them up to the next level of being respected by sports fans. Is I know that people probably turn away from the game, though, because of UConn's dominance at one point, then Tennessee's dominance with the late, great, God bless her soul, Pat Summitt. But more so, Isaiah, like we said, though, is that, UConn for a while did not get the best five-star recruits. So they all went to Stanford or Baylor, Notre Dame, and they've gone to other programs. But again, Isaiah, more so, mainly nowadays, Isaiah, how important is it, though, especially in a year, though, like 2020, that there's more and more college parity across not just football, but other sports, though, as well in your mind?
Yeah, I think, college basketball, we see it as well with there's just a bunch of random teams that just come out of nowhere every single year and, compete in March Madness and ultimately get far in March Madness. It's not always like Kentucky, Kansas, and the Dukes of the world, and even Syracuse for some time that dominate college basketball. You have a lot of upsets all the time, and that's what makes us love college basketball and March Madness, the upsets. And then now I think for women's basketball, it's a lot of things are just changing. I know UConn used to dominate and they would always win by 300 plus points. But now you have Oregon, Sabrina Ionescu, you mentioned Callan. She was so good this year. I think Oregon was the prohibitive favorite to win the college basketball national title. Yeah. And then you have other teams like Baylor that has stepped it up. Brittany Griner, I remember her. She stepped it up for Baylor. They won it a couple of years back. South Carolina. There's just a lot more parity now in women's college basketball as well as other sports going on in college sports.
And of course, as someone that works in college athletics, you love to see it happen. And with that in mind, Angel agrees. That is why women's college hoops needed. That is exactly what college hoops at the women's level needed. Getting tired of seeing UConn win by 260 points. I definitely think so. I mean, obviously, as someone that roots for UConn and got to see them play live in person for my first ever basketball game of any type in 2004, I agree with that sentiment. Just because, again, of the notion of things going on and, again, trying to get those programs better. And also, Tyler says, most people haven't been paying attention, but Indiana has been playing well for the last 4 to 5 seasons. It hasn't necessarily translated to wins until this season, but they've been playing everybody tough ever since Tom Allen got to the program. Definitely think that's a very logical and great point. Casey King writes in, hopefully, though, we will get both men's and women's March Madness this year. Love watching. I think anyone out there that's a college basketball fan enjoys waking up that first day and watching games on CBS and Turner, TNT, and True TV all damn day. And Christy Wilson, who's also a big women's basketball fan, says that women's college hoops is changing with other schools stepping up. Not all about UConn anymore. And I will add one more little caveat with that, Isaiah. You know, people, of course, have written and said that, that the UConn women are, quote unquote, bad for the game, though. But I will say, Isaiah, that Gino Auriemma, of course, is probably one of the more disliked coaches with anyone outside of Storrs, Connecticut, though, with how he's been, though. But that Gino has been probably one of the coaches, though, that probably looks out for everybody else at the women's college level. He's got great relationships with Kim Mulkey. Had a great one too with Muffet McGraw at Notre Dame. Had one as well with, of course, Pat Summitt and their big time rivalry back in the 90s and the early 2000s. But also has one too with Don Staley. And I think that Gino, of course, he wins a lot. But Isaiah, I think though that Gino probably would be the first guy to say though, my team's not bad for the game. Look at how everyone else is being competitive now, like South Carolina is mentioned. But Isaiah, any more perhaps rhetoric or thought more so about the UConn women and perhaps against some of those very snarky remarks about them being quote unquote bad for the game because of their dominance over the past several years until recently?
I agree with Gino on the comments that, hey, my team is not bad for the game of college or women's college basketball, because he's right. His team dominating all those years helped all these other programs, wake up and realize that, hey, we are tired of getting our butts kicked every single game or every single time we play UConn. So we got to step it up. We got to start recruiting harder. We got to start practicing harder. We got to change the way that we do things here in our women's college basketball program. And a lot of these programs have done it. And then that's why now you see like the Oregons, the South Carolinas, the Baylors all stepping up, and even Notre Dame stepping up and challenging UConn for supremacy of women's college basketball. So I think it's a good thing for women's college basketball.
Absolutely. Angel writes in, I miss the days when the Final Four was at an NBA arena and not a stadium. I do too, Angel. But again, sadly, money rules the roost. More people means more revenue to keep some programs going. Again, like I said, though, on Friday, but folks, some very alarming news, though, out of the Big West Conference here out here in California. But Cal State Northridge, the CSUN Matadors, announced their plans, I believe, on Thursday, if not yet on Friday, to officially pull their women's basketball team out of the season because of player opt-outs due to COVID concerns. They were left with 6 healthy players to play, and they could not go the entire season with just those 6 players to play games. So again, that's where we're at with college hoops. And also, James says, I loved listening to the sound bites of Pat Summitt. By the way, folks, I know I kind of recommend a lot of sports documentaries. There's a great ESPN 9 for 9 that was done by a lot of the female producers. One about Pat Summitt. I highly, folks, recommend you watch it. A very great story about Pat and her life, and also, of course, her great career at the University of Tennessee. With that, Isaiah, also in college football today, buddy, we had 2 teams today show off some very great or honor 2 very perhaps well-known people, or, of course, times of tragedy. But today, though, Isaiah, both the Boston College Eagles and the Marshall Thundering Herd, both wearing uniforms in honor of 2 tragic incidents. Of course, the Marshall Thundering Herd, as we all know, 50 years ago today, their football program was sadly involved in the very disturbing and depressing and sad plane crash that, of course, killed 75 people aboard their flight, again, 50 years ago today. And Marshall did, in fact, wear some special jerseys to honor the occasion with a number 75 decal on the back of their helmets today, as they also pounded Middle Tennessee State 42-14 as the 16th ranked Thundering Herd won the ball game on Saturday. And again, 50 years to the date of the Marshall Thundering Herd's plane crash back in November, 50 years ago today. And also as well, the Boston College Eagles honoring the man with the red bandana, who of course was a well-known Boston College lacrosse player who served volunteer status of the New York Fire Department and was killed sadly on 9/11. You know, and Isaiah, like I say though a lot though, buddy, is, you know, in times of crisis, in times of natural disasters and stuff like this, that sports is always that shoulder to cry on. They're that hug that you get when you walk in the door from a long day of work. And sports is that rabbit hole, is that escape, though, in times of stuff like this. And I think, though, Isaiah, I think great jobs done by both Marshall and also Boston College to honor either the player or players killed in the plane crash, and also, again, the volunteer firefighter who went to the school, who, again, lost his life, sadly, on 9/11. Isaiah, any thoughts to pass along here about these two schools, again, doing a very great tribute to, again, two probably dark days in their school, in their athletic program histories?
Yeah, they did a good job. You know, I think Marshall wore black jerseys and black pants along with black helmets, and also decal on their helmet. And also, Callan, what did Boston College do?
So, folks, probably not a very good job of explaining that here, but today for the game, the Boston College Eagles folks wore a white jersey but with a red bandana print inside the number and name for the late, great Wells Crowther, who sadly, folks, was a volunteer firefighter who played lacrosse at Boston College. He sadly lost his life on 9/11 while he was rescuing people from the World Trade Center. He was pretty much known, though, as the man with in the red bandana, but they did pretty much, Isaiah, a white jersey with the imprint of a red bandana inside the numbers and names for all their players today.
Yeah, very, very good. Very, very good job by these programs to really honor those victims that were killed in those really tragic incidents. I know that, 50 years is a long time, but you can never, ever heal from those really tragic incidents. So I need to commend those programs for doing a fantastic job doing what they did today in, doing those tributes. And for Marshall, I know it was a very emotional day given the whole the whole thing with the 50 years after the plane crash, and for them to win their ball game today while wearing those the black helmet, the black jersey, and the decal is very cool.
Absolutely. So again, props to both BC and Marshall for the honors. Some thoughts here real quick, Angel, about the differences between UConn and UCLA's winning streaks. Difference between the Bruins' 88-game win streak versus the Huskies' 90-plus is most of the UCLA games were competitive back at that time. Christy Wilson writes in, yes, Christy, the plane crash of the for Marshall was actually the subject of the movie We Are Marshall, one of the best sports movies out there. Honestly, again, more so again, that knockdown comeback story of a program being reborn. And also, Angel says, can't believe it's been 50 years since that tragedy happened. And also, real quick, Tyler Work says, let's not forget as well, guys, that Kentucky honored their late, great O-line coach, John Schlarman, who passed away sadly on Thursday due to cancer. They lined up without a left guard on the field for the first play. They let the play clock run to 0, and Vanderbilt declined to take the penalty. So definitely great tributes across the board by three programs across the board, with both Marshall and also as well with Boston College and Kentucky. And by the way, folks, the man in the red bandana is also the subject of a ESPN Films 30 for 30 as well, if you want to catch that too on ESPN+. With that, Isaiah, in mind, we'll get to Week 10 now of the NFL season coming up, starting up on Sunday, getting all the games underway. Isaiah, give us maybe a couple of the games you're watching closely come the upcoming Sunday and, of course, Monday Night Football this week in the NFL.
Well, first of all, the games that I will be watching this upcoming week, I'm definitely going to be watching, well, in the early games, I'm going to be watching the Eagles and Giants, even though those two teams are like really pathetic, because I think whoever wins that game will win that division. The Eagles right now are out in front in the NFC East. They have Carson Wentz is playing like he's not like the Carson Wentz of old, but he's still playing okay. But whoever wins that game will win the division. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that one. I'm going to keep an eye on the Buccaneers-Panthers game. I really want to see how Tampa Bay rebounds after that horrific loss to the New Orleans Saints last week, in which they got absolutely whooped against the New Orleans Saints. There's been a lot of rumors that Tom Brady and Bruce Arians are not meshing well down in Tampa, so I want to see how Tom Brady and Bruce Arians does in this game, as well as how the Buccaneers do in rebounding from that terrible loss. Let's go to the afternoon slate. I'm definitely going to be watching the Broncos and Raiders game because, Denver always plays Las Vegas very, very tough. Even though, one team might be really bad and the other team might be really good, it doesn't matter. They always play each other very close and very tough. And I just right now, this game, Broncos, Drew Lock, you guys know how I feel about them. Their defense, even though they got whacked last week by the Atlanta Falcons, their defense has been playing pretty well. Vic Fangio has done a pretty good job with that defense, but they do get Bryce Callahan back. They do have AJ Boye back, and also Callan. There's also a rumor that's been floating out there that Von Miller, who has been cleared to return this season, might return for tomorrow's game. I don't know how true is that, but if he does that, that's going to be not only a great lift to the Broncos on defense, it will be a great emotional lift for the Denver Broncos because Von Miller is the heart and soul of that Denver Bronco defense. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that one. Seahawks, Rams, I'm going to be definitely keeping an eye on that one because I think that's a battle for the NFC West. And last but not least, I'm going to try to see how my boy Nick Mullins does against the New Orleans Saints in that loud Superdome.
Excuse me, there's not a lot of games going on, I should say, in the morning, as Tyler does point out here. One of the benefits, though, of the Masters being played in November, CBS has to broadcast that in the morning, which is why we have so many afternoon games coming up this week. So, again, plenty of that coming up as time does move on, with all the games basically being on Fox for a majority of the morning slate. But I would probably, though, in the morning window, not a lot of good games in the morning, but I would agree, though, with Isaiah about this being a game right now that I would go with Philadelphia, New York, because more so, as mentioned, whoever wins that game probably in my mind wins the NFC East division for the morning slate of games. Afternoon-wise, I'm going to go probably with Seattle and the Rams for the other game I'm going to watch, though, because of how we have seen the Seahawks bounce back after losing a game, though, so far on the season. So I'm going to go with that game and also as well. With that. And also, I would probably keep an eye, though, too, as well, on the night game. Baltimore playing at New England. Again, the weather probably could be a factor. And also, of course, got to go with Monday Night Football again. The Bears hopefully can beat the rivals from up north in Minneapolis. But again, we'll see how things go coming up this week in the NFL. Some more thoughts here real quick. Angel says Vegas all over the Broncos in his mind with this game. Chardol has his list. He's got New York and Philadelphia, Tampa, Carolina, New Orleans and San Francisco, Denver facing Vegas, the Ravens and Pats, and the Rams and Seahawks. Plenty of games that he'll be watching very, very closely. Also, Casey writes in his main games, of course, are his Rams and the Seahawks tomorrow. Also, we'll look on and off with the Bills and Cardinals game and need the Bills to win. And if my Rams will win the game, they move in the driver's seat as leaders in the NFC West. Those will be my main games in the morning. Mostly watching the Masters. And also, James says, don't need Von Miller back versus my Raiders. Do not do it. And also, Angel says, Seahawks, Rams, actually going to pick the Rams since there's an empty SoFi Stadium. And also, he says he'll be muting Joe Buck as he'll be calling the game and listening to JB Long on the radio. And also, Angel says, sorry to Cal, but the Vikings have woke up. Now remember here, I picked Minnesota to beat Chicago in our group pick'em, and we even had this on Friday on No BS. It's just like Isaiah. Heart says Chicago. Mine is going, though, with Minnesota. So it's either way, I win a game in some capacity. I win. Yeah, either I win the game or I win the game. So it's simple as that. It's a win-win situation. And also, James Gonzalez says real quick, Ravens defense should beat down the Pats offense. I went with Baltimore in that game for that reason. With that in mind, Isaiah, a very interesting trade rumor now circulating across the NBA rumor mills. Again, we approach the NBA drafts coming up this upcoming Wednesday. Of course, Isaiah, mainly more so being focused right now on the dysfunction that is with the Houston Rockets game. We had that report come out, though, Isaiah, roughly earlier in the week, though, about a lot of disarray, though, with maybe Russell Westbrook being traded, guys being very, very in a way, very upset about the coaching hire, the GM leaving, and again, a lot of internal strife, though, in regards to players wanting in or wanting out, I should say, of Houston. With again, a lot of the moves going on here at this rate. Isaiah, the one that we are talking about, though, perhaps James Harden being dealt away to the Brooklyn Nets, along with perhaps getting Carl Leverett, Jared Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie, and also Teron Prince and a first-round draft pick could all go the way of the Rockets for James Harden to Brooklyn, New York. Isaiah, this might be the first shoe that falls, though, with the ongoing drama circulating around the Rockets again between from Harden, Westbrook, PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, Austin Rivers, and a lot of, again, maybe not backlash, Isaiah, but I still think it is pretty much a player mutiny against this Rockets ball club for both the head coach hire and Daryl Morey leaving for Philadelphia. Isaiah, your thoughts on this rumor as we again, buddy, get ever so closer to the NBA draft coming up on Wednesday afternoon?
Well, when I look at this trade, right, so James Harden would be added to the Brooklyn Nets, and all those players that Callan just listed would go to Houston. That's basically their entire bench. So it would be Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. So assuming that Kevin Durant comes back from his Achilles injury and he's back to being the Kevin Durant of old, and assuming that Kyrie Irving is fully healed from his shoulder injury and he comes back to being the old Kyrie Irving, this is going to look very scary on paper. But let me ask you guys something. How is this going to work? Because let's face it, all these three guys are ball-dominant players. They need the ball in their hands to be successful. James Harden needs the ball in his hands to be successful. Kyrie Irving, does his flashy moves with the ball, and he needs the ball in his hands to be successful. And Kevin Durant, he might not need the ball in his hands to be successful, but hey, if Kyrie and Harden are doing their thing, they're going to clash. And then Kevin Durant, he also needs the ball in his hand. So I don't know how this is going to work. I think that, right there, the Nets are going to be they're playing. There's one basketball. There's only one basketball, ladies and gentlemen. There's not three basketballs. There's only one basketball. But it would be a scary trio. But I just don't know how it's going to work because all these three guys need the ball in their hands unless Harden, can accept the fact that he needs to play off the ball, and maybe KD, after his Achilles injury can accept the fact that, he needs to spend more time off the ball to minimize more chances of getting injured. But, if you get those three guys in, so that's going to be a lot of salary that you're taking up, and your entire bench is gone to Houston in that trade. So, you're not going to have any bench. You're probably going to have to sign a lot of guys off the bench that are willing to take one-year deals like what the Lakers did this year or what the Miami Heat did in 2012. I honestly just don't think it's going to work out because there's going to be too much ego, too much too much guys needing the ball in their hands, and also no depth for the Brooklyn Nets because let's say one of these guys go down, you're screwed, man, even though you're in the Eastern Conference. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't think, they're going to, get to the NBA Finals and win the final. They might go to the, second round or conference finals, but it's going to take some time to work some chemistry out between those three.
Isaiah, I will say this till I'm blue in the face and type this out until I get carpal tunnel syndrome and my thumbs fall off. Teams that try to do this in regards to the Padres in 2015 and the Buccaneers in the NFL this year, it does not work right away. And I would be very concerned, though, especially with a first-time head coach in Steve Nash, who's already, I think, right now at a major disadvantage because right now it looks to me to be a 2-on-1 handicap match. KD and Kyrie versus the head coach right now for who's going to call plays, defensive rotations, and stuff like that. Where, of course, I know that KD has some past history with Steve Nash and Golden State. But now if you throw a third man in there like James Harden, their offense is not going to work, and the egos are going to, in my mind, get Steve Nash fired. Because I just don't think that you can have this many combustible elements of three guys who have egos bigger than the planet Earth on one ball club, it's not going to work. And especially it becomes worse than Tyronn Lue in my mind in Cleveland, Isaiah. This becomes way worse than Cleveland, and what will be way worse, in my mind, way worse than what the Clippers will be this year with Tyronn Lue, because now you're talking about Durant, Irving, and James Harden all walking over Steve Nash every single possession on offense, Isaiah. I don't like this idea or this move one iota at this rate. Some thoughts more so about this trade. Real quick, going on again, perhaps, folks, James Harden somehow, some way going to the Brooklyn Nets. I agree with Christy Wilson. What? I don't know about that, honestly. Real quick as well, Christy says, flat out, the Rockets are a mess. James Gonzalez, it looks like no one out there wants Russell Westbrook. No, that is what it is right now. Angel says the Rockets will become a lottery team. Casey, Rockets are heading in a downfall right now. James came with the best comment, though. The Nets realize that there's only one ball. KD, Kyrie, and Harding would fight over shots. It would probably become a full-on fist fight at this rate. Christy Wilson says nobody is ever the same after coming back from an Achilles injury. Definitely, for sure. Also, real quick, Angel says if Harden goes to Brooklyn, the Nets are easily winning 60 games. I don't know about that. I think if they start losing games early, they get up to like a 5-10 or a below 500 start in their first, 25 or 30 games. That gets blown up very, very quickly. And again, probably cost Steve Nash his job after one half season. In my mind, Tyler Work, if this trade happens, how long until Durant, Harden, and Irving get into a fight over who takes the final shot? 2 games?
2 months. 2 months.
Christy Wilson agrees it's not worth depleting your bench to get someone like James Harden, in my opinion. Also, real quick, we also have Christy saying NYC is not big enough for Irving, Durant, and Harden. Definitely agree. Angel says the 2015 Padres were doing good, but the genius fired Bud Black when the Padres got swept by the Dodgers. Went under 500 and the season went to hell. Yes, they did. Casey says the Clippers may slip back to their old ways with Tyronn Lue coaching the ball club. There's going to be a lot of issues there in my mind. James says if that happens, good luck, Steve Nash. Try passing your way out of this one, LOL. And also Chardol says the Nets' big three will be Harden, Durant, and Irving. We'll see what happens. But Isaiah, we'll let you add on a bit more about this while I pull up some more about this trade. Give me a second.
Yeah, so my big issue with this trade is, you have, let's say this trade goes through, right? And you have Harden, Durant, and Irving. So you have Irving playing the point guard, Harden playing the shooting guard, Durant playing power forward. So who's gonna fill out the rest? You have DeAndre Jordan, fine, he plays center, but that's like 4 guys, 4 bloated contracts on your team. Irving's making hella money, Durant's making hella money, Harden's making hella money, DeAndre Jordan's making hella money. Where are the other 11? Where are the salaries for the other 11 guys going to come from? Are you really just going to go out there and sign a bunch of 38, 39-year-olds to come and, compliment these guys? It's not going to work, man, if you do this. So for me, if I'm advising Sean Marks, I'm advising him, don't do this trade, because this will definitely blow up in your face, and you're going to end up in the position that you were back when you traded for Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and you were stuck in salary cap hell, and you had no draft picks for the next 7 years if you do this trade.
With that in mind, Tyler with the best one, though. Sorry, James. The Nets bench might as well be the MI6 Sports Network broadcast crew. Well, we'll have to make some customized jerseys for that to happen first and foremost. Now, with that, guys, as mentioned, I had touched base on this, but ESPN.com has the NBA trade machine where, again, you can go and pretty much do all these ludicrous trades. So folks have tried to do this in regards to perhaps working out this trade between Brooklyn and with the Nets. Now, again, folks, per the reports gathered, as we already have talked about here, or touched base on, I should say, the Rockets would get Spencer Dinwiddie, Tayshaun Prince, I should say, and also Karis LeVert, all for James Harden. Now, folks, again, this is all via the ESPN trade machine where, again, you can go and mess around and trade guys and stuff like that, and it will actually give you a result, though, if your trade is actually successful or not. Let's see what the results are going to be saying. The results, though, folks, of this trade say it would fail because the Nets would be over the trade luxury tax threshold with the trade made here in the incoming aggregate salaries. exceed what's allowed via the 125% plus $100,000 rule. You have to cut $17 million in change from the Nets' incoming trade value to make the trade successful, but also the Nets use the non-taxpayer mid-level exception or the non-taxpayer biannual exception to sign a free agent or free agents, and therefore they're owed tax cannot exceed more than $6 million at any time during the season. You have to cut $10 million from the Nets' incoming trade value to make this trade successful. So if it was the 3 players to the Nets for James Harden, it would be an unsuccessful trade. So Isaiah, there's the ruling there, buddy. It would not go through per the ESPN trade machine because, again, of more so salary being a very big talking point between more so Brooklyn than with Houston.
Yeah, I mean, the roster, even like, let's say this trade goes through the roster, or like, yeah, let's say this trade goes through, you would still have to make other moves to get that salary of James Harden to fit. You'll probably have to cut one of your best 3-point shooters or let Joe Harris, who is one of your best 3-point shooters, go to free agency. You probably have to get other people that is really crucial to the success of your ball club, go elsewhere as well. So I just think for the Brooklyn Nets, they would be wise not to do this trade to avoid all the fighting that would be going on, and also to avoid the egos of these players, and also to avoid, like scrapping their entire bench just to get James Harden.
Angel agrees. Be surprised if this trade actually happens. Sounds like it's NBA 2K. Well, the trade machine said it failed, so that's obviously why it wouldn't work right here and right now between Brooklyn and the Houston Rockets. With that in mind, Isaiah, we'll now get ready to close up shop and head out of here for the night with tonight's final thoughts. Time to wrap things up here, folks, on this Saturday night in our 23rd episode here of the Night Shift. Christy Wilson coming in saying it's too much of a financial risk for Brooklyn to do that move. Isaiah, of course, man, we've been kind of teasing it, though, but of course, 2 big shows are coming up. But also, man, 99 Anchor podcast listens away from 2,000, my man. Of course, we've been talking a lot about that off air with all the fellow MI6 crew. Isaiah, give us your thoughts first about the upcoming milestone, and also your actual final thoughts, too, for tonight's program.
Well, Callan, yeah, dude, we've worked so hard, man, from the time we started this network to the time that you and John and myself jumped onto this, or you and John jumped onto this network with us. I mean, we just keep growing and growing and growing. I mean, every month we have like almost like 100 likes on Facebook. We have like so many viewers. Like every program that we have average like 250 to 500 viewers. We've gotten 1,000 viewers a lot on some of our programs. It's just been very, very successful, and it's been very good to see all the growth that we've had in this network, man. We started this me and Steven started this network just as 2 friends talking about sports, and to see it grown from like this little thing to all the way up to here. It's just freaking amazing. So I can't wait to hopefully we get that 99 or the 99 listens by next Saturday, so we can have a Thanksgiving special next Saturday to celebrate our milestone. But before I get into my final thoughts, I just want to thank Angel, Christy Wilson, Tyler Work, Shardo Gupta, James Gonzalez, Casey King, as well as, let's see, trying to not leave anybody out of here. Chris Wilson, tune in to his program, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow at, I believe it's 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Am I right on that, Callan?
That is correct. 10 a.m.
Chris Wilson. Yep, 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. here on the West Coast. So you guys can wake up and tune in to Chris Wilson and listen to him talk about sports. Jesus Blackman, and Stephen Wang as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for the love and support. We really appreciate it. Make sure you guys tune in. We have so many great programs coming up and so many great things coming up here on the MI6 Sports Network. we have the NBA Draft Live show next week. I'm going to have let Callan talk about that more, as well as the Thanksgiving special. And also we've got at the end of this month, we have the network's Moments and Hot Takes Challenge. I think, Callan, is it a 64 or no, it's a 32 moments and 32 hot takes challenge. Am I correct on that?
It's 16 hot takes and 16 memorable moments into a 32-team tournament over the last 31 days of the year.
Yes, it's a 16 moments and 16 hot takes challenge. That's going to be a great way to wrap up this 2020 year. And also, we got a lot more stuff coming along the way. So make sure you guys tune in to our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, our social networks, to just to check it out, like to check out what we've got in the next couple of weeks. And ladies and gentlemen, also before I let Callan talk more about the NBA and the NBA draft special, as well as the Thanksgiving special, for the NBA draft special on Wednesday, we advise you to please not comment any of the incoming picks that are like that you guys see on Twitter from Woj or Shams Charania, because we want to be there and react to it as the commissioner Adam Silver announces it live on air. Me, Callan, Steven, John, Furman, Ryan, and the rest of the crew that are going to be joining that program, we are going to be shutting off Twitter from 2 p.m. Pacific time all the way until the end of that program. We don't want to know who gets picked before the commissioner announces it. So please don't tell us whatsoever about who gets picked before that pick actually happens.
Yeah, folks, we'll try our best to kind of have a message up here. Like you see, again, we're kind of in a way updating you on our Anchor podcast listens. Again, folks, you can find the podcast again via Anchor or through your podcast app. Either way, though, all the listens, though, folks, are counted. And again, we're sitting at 1,901 podcast listens so far via the Anchor podcast app. We've been, of course, kind of refreshing, kind of keeping an eye on it as time has gone on throughout the course of our program here tonight. And typically, folks, as we gotten closer to 2,000 listens, I've been kind of in a way updating our group chat, basically, the listens when we, like an hour before we start the show, where we're at. And then when we, in fact, end the program, we also update that way. But again, folks, looking forward, though, to a great week, though, here of networks here, or at least network programming coming up at this rate. And with that, folks, we'll show off one of our ads here for the upcoming program coming up on Wednesday. So again, folks, as a reminder, join us at 3:45 Pacific time Wednesday for the upcoming NBA draft show. But again, folks, we asked, though, we'll again reiterate this, though, when we in fact start the program on Wednesday. Again, folks, we asked you again, please, we want to react just like you guys in regards to trades or the big news. So we asked, though, what we'll reiterate, though, as mentioned on Wednesday. But please, folks, do not spoil it. Pretty much, again, like a movie. Do not spoil the movie for those of us that have not seen the film yet. Again, do not do that for us when, in fact, we get there at this rate and at this point in time. But, of course, folks, again, we're more so focused on that number right down below me here on screen. Again, 1,901 Anchor podcast listens. Again, getting close to 2,000. We're hoping to get that by Saturday for our Thanksgiving special coming up here at around 7 or 8 o'clock Pacific time on Saturday. Back over to Isaiah. What do you got for us, buddy?
I forgot one last thing. Tune in tomorrow night for another edition of Blooper of the Week here on the Night Shift. We've got some very, very funny bloopers for you guys. So make sure you guys tune into the program tomorrow and tune in to Blooper of the Week, which will be at the end of the Night Shift before Final Thoughts. So make sure you guys tune in for that.
So again, folks, we thank you again for your listenership, your viewership. But again, folks, we're keeping an eye on that number below us on screen here. Again, 1,901 podcast listens. All of that, folks, is via the Anchor podcast app. But again, all the listens, though, regardless if it's Anchor, Spotify, Apple, they all go directly to our account. So again, folks, keep on listening and keep subscribing. And also keep up those 5-star reviews and those reviews. If you have to perhaps write one in, we'll gladly appreciate those as well. With that, folks, for Isaiah Leung and for the entire cast and crew here of the MI6 Sports Network, yours truly, Callan McClurg, saying goodnight on this Saturday. We'll see you folks back here on the Night Shift on Sunday to recap what will be another wild week and Sunday of NFL football back here on the Night Shift, 10 o'clock Pacific time, back here on the MI6 Sports Network, with Isaiah being here regardless if the Niners win or lose against the Saints from the Dome in New Orleans. Till tomorrow, folks, have a good night. Take care, stay safe and stay healthy, and so long. We'll see you back here on Sunday. Till then, good night. Bye-bye.